mat in kneeling pose, taking a few moments to get settled into this space, into our bodies, with the back of our hands on our thighs and our flat feet underneath us, chest tall, shoulders stacked on top of our hips, finding length in our spine. And we'll take a few deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth, filling our lungs with air and sighing it out. Noticing how the muscles start to soften in our faces and our shoulders. And allowing the breath to assume its natural rhythm in and out through the nose. Focusing today on the breath, breathing in new space throughout our body with each inhalation, and decompressing with each exhalation, letting go of anything that doesn't serve us in order to create space for new things, new light, new energy. Perhaps taking a moment to set an intention or an affirmation for our practice today. Bringing our awareness back to the space around us, the sounds, the temperature, and the smells. We'll float our way into all fours and start some purposeful, slow cat-cows with our hands under our chest, our knees under our hips, and our feet are flat behind us. Starting with the tailbone, and then pressing the chest away from the earth, lifting our gaze. Once again with the tailbone rounding each vertebrae and our head hanging heavy between our arms. Floating through, deep breaths in and exhaling, rounding out. With purpose, filling our lungs, opening the abdomen, and then rounding back out, gazing back towards the feet. Possibly pausing at the top and the bottom. And getting a sense of how the back body is feeling. We'll do 2 more. Last one, exhaling, holding, pressing into our shoulder blades, letting our heads hang heavy. Option here to shift the body left and right. Noticing any sensations that we might be feeling as we start to break up energy and patterns that we might be holding in our body. One more big breath. And we'll come back to neutral, all fours. Alternating hands, we're going to lift the left arm all the way off the earth, inhaling. Exhale, we place it back down. Switching to the right hand, inhaling, reaching up. Exhale, we lower. Alternating sides, inhaling, reaching up. Exhale, placing the hand down. Slowly starting to gain a little bit of fluidity in our spine. Opening up the chest. Reaching tall. One more on each side. And walking our hands out, we'll slowly float into puppy pose, melting our chest towards the earth, keeping our hips stacked on top of our knees. Perhaps we bring our forehead to the mat or our chin, depending on the flexibility that we're feeling today and the openness in our chest. Or maybe we find our blocks to support our head, not sinking too far, too fast. Breathing deeply here. Noticing sensations in the tops of our arms, across our chest and our shoulders. One more big breath here. And then we'll slowly walk our hands in, bring them back underneath us, back to all fours. One more time with the left hand, reaching all the way up, big breath in. And then we're going to thread the needle. Left arm comes under the right, onto the left shoulder, the left ear, and then we can walk our right hand above our heads. Holding here. Getting a stretch across the shoulder blades into the neck. And down the left arm. Keeping our breath slow and steady. Noticing the rising and falling sensation of our ribs. And a gentle rotation of our spine. Drawing the breath all the way through the spine, down to the lower back. Two more breaths here. And then we draw our left side out, walking both hands under our shoulders, and once again with the right hand, inhaling, reaching all the way up. Exhale, threading through the left, bringing our right shoulder and right ear to the mat, and then we can walk our left hand forward. Slow and steady rhythm of breath. Breathing in space and light. Exhaling decompression. Two more breaths. And we slowly come out of that, supporting with our left hand, rolling out. And let's roll that that out. Hands under our shoulders, knees under our hips, and we can roll in circles, rinsing out. To whatever range of motion feels good on our body, adding lateral flexion, opening up the side body all the way through to the lower back and hips. Finding a meditative motion to create a little bit more headspace early on in our practice. And switching directions. Noticing any different sensations in this direction. Perhaps a different rhythm or speed. Not trying to change it, just being aware of it. One more big breath. And we meet up in neutral. Resetting, and then extending our left leg all the way out to the side. The foot is facing forward, parallel to the mat. And a flat foot so that the toes and the heel are all making contact. Good. So we're here, holding here for a few breaths. Maybe we're shifting left to right. Maybe we start to shift forward and back, starting to get a sense of what's happening in the inner thigh. And we can lower down to our forearms. Once again, shifting our weight slowly forward and back. Gently getting a sense of what's happening in the inner thigh. Not pushing too far, too fast. As we notice the connection with the knee, any tightness in the inner thigh could impact what's happening in our knees. We want to be gentle. Good, and we can walk our hands out a little bit farther now so that we're in an extended leg puppy pose, melting our chest towards the earth, and again with either the forehead, a block, or our chin to the mat. Holding and opening into the inner thigh. Noticing what's happening. Checking in with the sensations and honoring them. Noticing those little micro gains and releases. As our body starts to trust and release energy. 2 more breaths. Walking our hands back in, first to the forearms, then to the hands under the chest. And we're going to come all the way up, bringing our torso on top of our hips. Letting our left hand fall alongside the left leg, reaching our right arm up, keeping our hips tucked underneath us, reaching tall, elongating. And then we can walk the left hand down the leg and come into a side bend, nice and gentle here. This doesn't have to be a big motion. Breathing deeply, maintaining our calm, steady rhythm of breath. Breathing into the right side body, noticing what's happening between the right fingertips and the right hip and knee. Can we maintain that steady rhythm of breath? Good. Windmilling the hands, right arm comes down to the right side, left arm reaches all the way up. Deep breaths in, elongating the torso, and then we come over to the right, either onto our block or down to the earth. Continuing to press the hips underneath us. Calm, steady rhythm of breath. Noticing now the pattern between the left foot and the left fingers. Are we able to maintain a calm, steady rhythm of breath without shifting tension to our jaw, our neck, or our arms? Two more big breaths here. Maybe we're starting to open our chest a little bit, reaching our arm back. Whatever feels good on the body. Deep breaths in, and then we'll round out of that, coming back to all fours, first with our hands under our chest, and then we'll bring our leg back underneath us, shifting the weight left to right, rinsing that out before we do the same on the other side. Allowing our head to hang heavy. Good. Switching the focus to the other side. So we're extending the right leg all the way out. Once again, the foot is firmly planted. The toes are pointing forward. And we can hold here. We can start to shift our weight left to right and forward and back, getting a sense of all the sensations in the body, what's happening in the inner thigh. Now we can come down to our forearms, same motion, or finding a pose we prefer to hold. Again, noticing what might be happening in the knee, being gentle so as not to force anything, just being aware of what's happening. Perhaps we didn't know that our knee pain was attached to tight inner thigh muscles. Good. Coming to stillness here, and then walking our hands out into our extended leg puppy pose, finding our block or our forehead or chin to the mat. Taking time here to slowly ease into the pose, noticing the sensations in the inner thigh and how they change as the body settles in and releases tension. Calm, steady rhythm of breath. Noticing if we might become distracted. And bringing our awareness back to the sensations of the physical body and breath. Three more breaths here. And we'll walk ourselves back up onto the forearms and then onto our hands. And then we'll bring our torsos all the way off the ground. Stacking our shoulders on top of our hips are tucked underneath us. Checking in with our foot, the toes are still pointing forward. Left hand comes above our shoulders, right hand walks down the leg. Deep breath in, and then exhale, coming into our side bend. Calm and steady, remembering to check in with the breath. If it becomes labored, perhaps we ease off the pose a little bit. Noticing what's happening down the left side of the body, from the fingertips, down the arm, down the side body, into the lower back, down the glutes and into the knee. Making sure we haven't transferred any tension to our jaw or neck. Good, and then we'll windmill the hands. Left arm comes down to left side, right hand reaches above the shoulder. And we start to come down into a side bend, opposite side, finding our block as desired. Reaching the right arm over our face or our ear, pressing our hips underneath us, and perhaps we check in with the pattern that our hand is making between the right side all the way down to the right foot. Lifting our chests high, deep breath, breathing in space. Three more breaths. Now we windmill out of that, coming back into all fours, slowly bringing our hands under our chest, bringing our knee back under our hips, and we can shift the weight left to right and rinse that out. Good. Coming back to neutral. Curling the toes under our shins, and we'll slowly step up into down dogs with our cat-cow. So inhaling, pressing the earth away, wrapping the elbows underneath us and the triceps. Exhale, we round back out, lifting the knees slightly off the mat, engaging the abdomen. We lower back down, inhaling, pressing the earth away, gazing up. Exhale, we round into the shoulder blades and the spine, lifting the knees a bit higher. Repeating this a few more times until we come into our down dog. Pressing into the shoulder blades, allowing the head to hang heavy. Moving with purpose. Pausing at the top and the bottom. We'll do two more. Coming into down dog with bent knees. Checking in with the lower back. Finding grounding of our hands and a weight of our head hanging heavy through our arms. Two more big breaths. Melting the chest towards the earth on each exhale. And then we can slowly pedal the feet, pressing one heel to the earth at a time. Maybe starting to shift our weight with our hips, adding some lateral flexion, noticing how the sensations change. Maybe we're starting to feel some energy down the outside of our leg. Two more big breaths. And then we all come into neutral down dog, pressing the heels towards the earth, and we're going to float through plank, modified child's pose down dog. Taking a deep breath in through the nose and sighing it out through the mouth. And on the next inhale, we float into plank. We bend our knees, we float back, child's pose, modified hovering off the earth, and then we come back into down dog. Floating through at our speed, pausing as desired. Starting to find space and lightness in the back body as we open it up. Pressing the heels to the earth a little bit closer each time we come into down dog. We'll do one more full rotation. And catch our breath here back in down dog. Sighing it out. We'll repeat the sequence, but in reverse order. So floating onto the toes, knees hover towards the earth. We come into plank and down dog. Taking the time that our bodies crave. Working into the toes and the tops of the feet. Noticing what's happening in the calf muscles as we come up on our toes and then press the heels back. We'll do 3 more. Moving the energy around, creating space in our back body and strength in our upper body. Good. Coming off our hands here, lowering down to our knees, child's pose, reaching the hands long on the mat, and sinking our hips back. Finding our blocks to support our heads, or perhaps our fists or our hands, shifting or finding stillness as preferred. Letting the body guide us in our motions and our stillness. Listening to what our bodies are telling us and what we need. Taking a few breaths here to reset. perhaps reflecting on our intention or our affirmation. And either coming all the way up to kneeling or coming back into all fours, depending if we need to take a sip of water. We'll all meet up in all fours. And curling our toes back under our shins, we'll step back up into our down dog. Deep breaths in. Exhale, rounding and pressing the heels back. Good. We're going to tiptoe our feet in towards our hands into a forward fold. Nice and slow, coming up on the toes. No rush. Maybe we come up onto the fingertips at the same time. And then we'll plant the heels. Coming into forward fold here. Heavy head. On the inhale, we'll come halfway flat back. Exhale, bending the knees, letting our chest drape over our thighs. Inhale, halfway flat back, straightening the legs. Exhale, bending the knees, draping our chest, hanging heavy. Repeating this. Inhale, finding length through the tailbone and the crown of the head. Exhale, rounding forward, allowing our chest to close into the thighs. Inhaling, finding that length. Exhaling, hanging heavy, bending the knees. Inhale, lengthening. Exhale, draping over. 3 more. Last time through. Big breath in. And exhale, hanging heavy, allowing the hands to come to the earth. The head hangs heavy between the arms. Perhaps we sway left to right. Perhaps we just hold here. Then perhaps we start to slowly press the knees back, straightening the legs, finding length as the body allows. Breathing in light and space, and letting go of any judgment, competition, or expectation. We honor the body as it is in this moment. Bringing our hands to the earth, keeping our knees bent, we'll step into a plank. And we'll come through chaturanga, all the way down, prone pose here. Hands stay under our chest. We lift our torso off and we come into Sphinx pose, bringing our elbows under the shoulders. Palms are facing forward, planted on the earth, wide fingers, and we slowly lift the chest up. Deep breaths in. Breathing in through the lower back, noticing a loosening of the hips and the glutes, pressing our feet into the mat. Calm, steady rhythm of breath. Good, releasing out of that, coming down, prone pose. Bringing our left arm into cactus. And we'll lift our right leg off the earth. Our right hand is on the fingertips. And we can slowly bring our right foot behind us and our left ear to the mat, opening into the left arm, left shoulder, and chest. Supporting with our right hand, tapping the toes of our right foot down behind our leg. Noticing what's happening in the left side of the body, keeping our left arm at 90 degrees extended from the shoulder. Finding comfort as the energy starts to release. Calm, steady rhythm of breath. Noticing the hips soften, the chest start to open with each exhalation. Good. Rolling out of that, coming back into prone pose. Letting our hips melt into the earth. Maybe shifting left to right, and then we'll bring our right arm out 90 degrees. Elbow extends from the shoulder. Left hand comes in on the fingertips, lifting the left foot, rotating it back behind us, and opening into the right side of the chest, tapping our toes down. Calm, steady rhythm of breath. Bringing our awareness to the physical sensations and how they're transforming. Finding peace in this pose. Noticing a softening of the body and the breath. Three more breaths. And we'll slowly roll back into prone pose. Bringing the tops of the feet back to the earth, the hips and the chest. Allowing our arms to run alongside the body. Our chin comes to the mat. Deep breath in through the nose and sighing it out through the mouth. Two more just like that. Filling the lungs and upper back. One more. Good. Bringing the hands back under the chest, lifting the chest, and then walking the hands underneath our chest, walking them out as far as they'll go, palms facing down. And then we slowly lower the chin over the arms. Breathing into this pose as we slowly melt into the tops of the arms, creating space in our upper back with our deep breaths, calm and steady. Breathing into the back of the neck, creating space between the vertebrae. Three more breaths. Again, noticing and opening. And we'll slowly come out of that, Lifting our chest, bringing our elbows underneath us to support. And then we cross the arms in the opposite direction, walking the hands out as far as we can, and then slowly bringing the chin over top. Melting slowly as the body allows. Noticing any differences on this side of the body. Perhaps we're holding our tension differently. Just bringing our awareness there. Breathing into any areas of discomfort and noticing how they transform. Three more breaths. Filling the lungs and the upper back. And decompressing with the exhalation. Bringing the chest and the chin off the earth. Bringing our elbows back underneath us. Back into our Sphinx pose, and then we'll walk the hands underneath at the sides of our ribs, pressing our feet into the earth. Deep breath in, lifting our chest off the earth, cobra. Noticing a relaxing of the glutes as we breathe into the lower back, lifting our chest high. One more big breath. And we'll melt ourselves back to the earth and slowly press ourselves into kneeling plank and child's pose with wide feet here, but wide knees, toes are together, sinking our hips back towards our glutes, maybe bringing our fists, our block, or our hands underneath our forehead. Noticing what's happening in the lower back and continuing to breathe deeply. Drawing light and space into areas of need. Well, on the next inhale, we'll draw ourselves back into all fours. Bringing our hands a little bit farther ahead, curling our toes and stepping into a plank here. Good. Pressing back to down dog. And lifting our left foot off the earth. Pressing our weight through the right heel, allowing our head to hang heavy between our arms. And we'll slowly float our left knee into our chest, coming up onto the toes, right foot, and we'll step into a low lunge, crescent lunge here, framing our left foot with our hands, and we'll slowly shift our weight left forward and back, coming up onto the toes, and then pressing the heel back, right foot. Continuing to work through any cricks and cracks in our foot. Mine is creaking quite significantly. That shows I needed this today. Loosening the muscles. Good. And continuing to frame the foot, lowering our right knee down to the earth. Maybe bringing our block closer to us in case we need it for support. And we'll flatten the back foot. Right foot flattens here. We'll lift our torsos up. Good. Hands can come to the hips or onto the thigh. And we'll slowly start to melt forward, pressing the tops of the foot into the mat, starting to open into the hip flexor, opening into the left hip, using our block for support as needed, listening to our body as we melt forward. Maintaining a tall torso, checking in with the right hip flexor. Gazing forward. An option here to bring our right hand over our shoulder if that feels comfortable on the right hip flexor. Not pushing too far too fast, remembering that we hold a lot of tension and emotion in our psoas, running down from the spine into our hip and hip flexor. Option to grab our block for support. We're not here to create stress. Maybe we come into a side bend. Listening to the body. Changing our position as the body releases energy and tells us it's safe to do so. Maybe we lower our right arm over the left leg. Gentle twist. Whatever option feels best for us in this moment. Bringing our right hand to the earth, bringing our left hand down, and we'll slowly walk our left foot, lifting our hips across the body. Left foot comes to right hand, we lower down into pigeon prep, staying high. Actively drawing the knees towards one another so that we're drawing all of the energy up and towards us. Using our hands for support, keeping our hips square to the mat. 3 more breaths. Drawing the knees towards each other, activating the glutes and the inner thigh muscles. And then we can slowly lower down, walking the hips back with our back foot. Keeping our hips square, using our block as needed, and then we can come down onto our forearms, our block or our fists, melting towards the earth, feeling the release of the energy in the left hip. Melting towards the earth as the body allows. Feeling all the yummy sensations in the back of the left leg, maybe down through the knee. Slowly melting. Once again, breathing in light and space. And exhaling energy and discomfort that doesn't serve us. Taking a few breaths here to enjoy the sensations and the space that we're creating. Noticing the rhythm of our breath. Good. And on the next inhale, we'll press ourselves back up, rolling over onto the left hip, coming back into all fours, and then we shift up into our down dog. Curling our toes under our shins, deep breaths in, and exhale, we lift the hips, pressing our heels towards the earth, hanging our heads heavy. Next inhale, we lift our right leg off the earth, shifting our weight through the left heel, noticing what's happening in the back of the left leg. Coming up on the toes of the left foot, we draw our right knee into our chest, we step through low crescent lunge, shifting our weight forward and back, rocking on the back foot, up on the toes, and then pressing the heel back. Framing our foot with our hands. Good. And pressing forward, we lower our left knee to the earth, We flatten the left foot, finding stability here, lifting our torsos, bringing our hands to our hips or onto our thighs, starting high, and then slowly starting to mount into the left hip flexor and the right hip, finding our block for support as needed. Not melting too far, too fast. Keeping our chest lifted high, gazing forward, and checking in with the breath. Again, using it as our guide. Option to bring the left hand above the shoulder. Opening up from the left knee all the way through to the fingers. Option to come into a gentle side bend if that feels accessible. Keeping our blocks close by. And perhaps we lower the left hand over the right leg, whatever feels best for us in this moment. No competition, no expectation that we need to hold the pose exactly the same as we did on the other side. Noticing the opening and releases of tension, celebrating those. And bringing our left hand back to the earth, our right hand as well, and we'll slowly lift our hips, curling our toes under the shin, and walk our right foot across the body. Right ankle comes to left hand. Once again, we're going to stay high. So bringing our left foot back to the earth, drawing our thigh muscles towards each other as if the knees are drawing up. Our torsos can stay tall or we can support, keeping our hips forward facing, squared. Feel the activation in the glutes and the thighs. One more breath. And then we'll slowly melt, keeping our hips forward facing, maybe walking the back foot out, bringing our hands in front of us, lowering down as the hips allow. Perhaps we come onto our block, our forearms or our fists. Melting slowly, taking a few breaths here to create space in the back of the hip, the leg, the lower back. And again, bringing our awareness back to the breath, the steady rhythm in and out through the nose. Great. On the next inhale, we'll press ourselves up using our hands, rolling over onto our right hip, bringing our legs out in front of us, extending them long, giving them a little wiggle, pointing the toes up, wiggling it out. We'll lower ourselves down, taking a sip of water in between. We'll finish on our backs. Keeping our block close. And we'll come into a supported bridge pose, bringing our feet hip width apart and lowering one vertebrae at a time, shoulders and head. Windshield wipering the feet and the knees, left to right, in a gentle motion. And then we'll come back to center. Stacking the knees on top of the ankles, pressing into the heels and lifting our hips up into bridge pose. Walking the shoulder blades down as needed for stability, keeping the knees stacked on top of the ankles. Option to bring the hands underneath the back or to allow them to float open. Lifting the hips a little bit higher. Opening the back of the neck as we press into the shoulder blades, lifting the hips for 3 more breaths. Creating space in the neck. Pressing into the shoulder blades. And then we'll release out of that. Hugging the knees in once we've set our hips down. Wrapping our arms around the shins. Option to hold steady or to shift our weight left to right. Transition into a plow pose. Option to rock ourselves into plow. Option to go steadily, bringing our block behind our heads, perhaps as far as our hands can reach. And supporting, starting out with the hands against the hips. Perhaps we rock ourselves forward and back if that feels good. Getting a little bit of momentum in order to get the hands towards the back, towards the hips. Walking ourselves back up onto our shoulder blades, slowly starting to straighten the legs. We may not tap down, that's fine. But starting to straighten the legs, flexing the feet, pointing the toes to the earth, and gaining some extra length in the back of the body. No competition, no judgment. Using our block as desired at whatever height feels comfortable. Using our hands to support our lower back as desired. Maybe even walking the hands up to the upper back. Feeling the energy running through the back of the legs, the back body in its entirety. Holding here for a few more breaths if it feels accessible, or lowering out of it slowly at any time when we're ready. Keeping the toes pointed to the earth, the feet are flexed, and we're trying to press the knees towards the sky, creating all that yummy space in the back body. Noticing how the body transforms. Noticing the warmth and the light we're creating. Focusing on the breath and the physical sensations. Bringing our awareness back there if our mind drifts. And when you're ready, tuck the knees into the forehead. We slowly lower ourselves down, supporting our lower back with our arms, using our abdomen muscles to slowly lower back down. Coming into Shavasana to allow the lower back to assume its natural curvature. Taking a few breaths here to reset the lower back, the neck, and the shoulders. Excellent. Drawing the feet back in. And we'll come into a gentle twist, either in figure 4 with the right ankle over the left thigh, walking the left foot out, or into eagle, whatever feels good, lowering the knees over to the side, and perhaps we float our arms above our head if that feels good. Deep breaths in to any spaces that need our awareness and our attention. Noticing micro gains, those small transitions as our energy shifts. One more breath. Then we'll bring our knees back to center, uncross them and repeat on the other side. Figure 4, walking the right foot out, eagle, and lowering our knees. Bringing our hands above our heads or to our hips. And bringing our awareness to areas of discomfort or tension. One more breath. And we stack our knees back up. And we'll hug them into our chest one more time, lifting our head off the earth, curling in like a little ball. Wrapping our hands around the fronts of the feet or grabbing onto the big toes, coming into happy baby. Option here to extend the leg one at a time or both. Checking in with both sides. Keeping our head and our shoulder blades firmly planted on the mat, noticing the contact that our back body makes on the earth. Three more breaths. And then we'll bring the bottoms of our feet together, wrapping our hands around the outside of them, interlacing, bringing our head back to the earth. Our shoulder blades are firmly pressed in, and we'll draw the heels towards our center, towards the earth, pressing our knees away. Again, noticing the contact at the back of our head, the shoulder blades are back, as well as our hips. Releasing out of that, allowing our legs to run long on the mat. Final resting pose in Shavasana here. Bringing our hands to our hips, to the side of our mat or above our heads, whatever feels good. Taking a few deep breaths in through the nose and sighing it out through the mouth. Smiling on our face as we breathe in, and then releasing the muscles as we breathe out. Running through a quick body scan from head to toe, noticing the mood and the energy of the body and how it may have changed from the beginning of our practice. Bringing our attention back to the breath. And perhaps reflecting on our intention, setting a new one if it suits us. And remembering this moment and how we feel in this moment throughout the week ahead. If it could calm us and bring us back to the present moment, tapping back into our intention and or our affirmation. Taking the time we need on the mat to imprint the practice on our body and mind. And when we're ready, we can curl up, press up, and come back to the space around us. Thank you all for joining and allowing me to continue on your journey. Namaste.